Welcome in. So first off, Eric, for anybody who doesn't know, that Eric was traveling with the Flames, and you're in Los Angeles at the moment, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Now, normally you cover sports, but the big news story that everybody's got their eyes on is the wildfires in California that is devastating that city, and neighborhoods are gone. Have you seen this? So, what is the scene like there? And what have you seen so far
So
today?
I'm downtown, and I can't see the flames, but it's the smell of smoke is everywhere. Like in my hotel room, there's smoke, smell of smoke, and when you walk outside, it hits you like a wall. The ash falling from the sky, like apparently we're 25 miles away from the closest flames. And again, just so people know, I'm right in LA Live, which is right downtown, right next to crypto.com arena, right in the heart of LA. And so you certainly feel safe in terms of the flames, encroaching upon a massive. We've saw some ash falling from the sky, like it's if you walk with your coffee, you look on the top of your coffee a minute in, and it's just covered in ash. And
Oh, are we losing? Are we losing Eric? Guys, yeah, I think grab a better connection or whatever. We'll just call him over. Eric Francis is joining us inside the NHL for Saudi Mainline Chrysler. Eric is actually in Los Angeles with the Flames. Now, the game tonight at crypto.com against the Kings has been postponed, and we'll get to them. We'll find out if that's just going to be for the day or if that's going to be further in the season. And if they are they traveling back or what's going on? I know Saudi Mainline Chrysler, farewell to 2024 and hello to massive savings at Saudi Mainline, up to $25,000 off remaining 2024 inventory. You can save up to $19,000 on 2024 heavy duties. Plus, they have 2024 Jeep Compasses starting at $34,945. They're just 30 minutes south of Regina. Saudi Mainline Chrysler, worth the drive every time, guaranteed. There was supposed to be 4 games in the NHL tonight. There still will be 3. Vancouver's at Washington, Colorado is at Chicago, and Florida is at Utah. Besides the Kings Flames game getting postponed, the other big news out of the NHL today is there will be a Winter Classic in Miami, February 1st, 2026, featuring the Florida Panthers. How they're going to do it, and I get it with refrigeration and you can put ice in certain places and all that, but outside, there's been some situations where it hasn't been great. Okay, we've got Eric back. You're in Los Angeles. The game tonight, the Kings and the Flames, has been postponed. Is it to later on in the season? Is it happening tomorrow? What's the word from the NHL?
Well, no word from the NHL in terms of when the game will be rescheduled. I mean, crypto.com, I believe, is the second busiest arena in North America. It's going to be awfully tough to squeeze that thing in anytime soon, is my guess. But the league and the Flames and the Kings will all try to get together. I'm sure they're doing that right now to try and figure out when it makes sense. But I can tell you that the Flames that had a meeting this morning, we were all at the arena, and they were just going to do an off-ice workout, and they literally finished their meeting, went out to start working out, and then Ryan Husk had gotten word that the game had been canceled. The players were told, and immediately went into action. All the staffers packing up all the gear, and it's a big effort to do that sort of stuff, especially spur of the moment. And they were endeavoring to try and fly out of LA as soon as possible, but that meant trying to find their charter plane, which is only supposed to leave until after the game tonight. So they had to try and bump that up. Anyway, they're still in LA. The Flames are. I'm still in LA overnight. It's very quiet downtown. Security's high. Ash is falling. It smells like smoke. Everyone's wearing masks in the city, and it's kind of. I wouldn't. I'm not going to go as far as to say it's scary because, like I said, I'm downtown. I'm 25 miles from the Flames, but I'm glued to the TV. I've watched probably 10 hours of coverage. The local stations went all night last night showing devastating scenes of people's houses being lost. My stepbrother lives in California, and I just got word that he lost everything living in Pacific Palisades. Just really sad. And you see these people on TV talking about if you've seen my cat or my dog or my horse. there's stuff, and that sucks to lose it all. But it's another thing to lose animals. There's only been 2 deaths, which is good, but there's also a lot of criticism here about the way it's been handled and the fact that a lot of the houses don't have access to water, which is kind of crucial when you're putting out fires. It's sad.
That's the crazy thing too, is the fire hydrants. People, why aren't the fire department doing anything? There's nothing to hook up to because there's no water in the basin. So when they turn on the hydrants, there's no water there, which is mind-boggling in a city the size of Los Angeles. And the other thing too, and I saw some people on Twitter that they were being interviewed. It was part of a news report. Late last year, their fire insurance was canceled on their home policies. They didn't have fire insurance anymore. And then this happens.
Oh.
So it's one thing to be, it's an insurance. This is a whole other situation they'll play out. So one of the questions that I get, does Eric and do all the reporters travel with the team? Like, are you on the plane with them? The answer is no. You travel, you cover the team, but you're not a Flames employee. You travel separately, correct?
Correct. I've always, as a columnist, I've never believed it. I should ever be on a team's plane. I think it compromises a columnist's job, and it's also a place that the players don't want you. That's their domain. So I do travel separately, and while there's an entourage of people that do travel with the team, and right now it's the mom's trip. All the moms are here, supposed to be having this wonderful time with their sons, and now the whole trip's been cut short by a bunch of hours, and they're in limbo in terms of when they're going to leave. But so no, I do travel separately, and I have a flight out of here tomorrow morning, assuming we can get out of LA. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but if the winds continue, then it might be.
So let's rewind to last night. There's a couple of things out of that game against the Anaheim Ducks. So Flames win 3-2. That's one. Connor Zary and the knee on knee. What's the latest from him? Because that did not look good. Yeah,
they're going to, he's still with the team here in LA and is here with his mom. When a guy gets hurt, he wants his mom by his side. It doesn't matter how old you are. So he's going to be evaluated when they get back to Calgary tomorrow. They're going to do some imaging. And look, I can tell you that the mood around the Flames is such that they believe he's probably done for the year.
Oh, man.
I know he's a tough, tasky boy, but anyone who saw that hit saw that it was knee on knee, that there was a hyperextension. Before he even hit the ground, as he spun out of control, both his flippers were off, his gloves, and he grabbed each side of the top of his knee. And you just knew that he was in some significant distress, and he needed help to get off the ice. And it's just one of those awful scenes, and it's even made worse, I think, by his mom sitting 22 rows up.
Oh.
Yeah, there's the video there. It's awful. And and I don't know what you think, Maz, but like, I don't think it was an egregious hit. Like, certainly the result is devastating, and it's awful. But I'm not one here clamoring for a major suspension or anything. I think a 15-minute major, 5-minute major game misconduct is punishment enough. I didn't think it was egregious. I thought that it was just unfortunate, 2 guys going in different directions. Did you have any strong thoughts on it? Because when I spoke to Flames management, even they were kind of like, I don't know. And they'd seen it 20 times, and they still weren't sure if it was dirty at all.
Seeing it live, no. And then seeing it replay, no. It's unfortunate. But I knew, like you said, as soon as he threw his gloves off and went to grab his leg, I'm like, whatever this is, this isn't good. Because you see, there's knee on knee and guys will go down and maybe then they're up on a knee and they're hunched over. I'm like, nope, that right there, whatever that's going to turn out to be, that isn't good. The Flames end up winning the game in overtime. And Jonathan Huberdeau scores again. Mm-hmm. He's having a good season, but is it too little too late that no one really cares now that he's kind of come around and having a good season? It just...
No, I'm not going to agree with that. I mean, people in this city, I think we're probably convinced that he never would be able to turn it around after what we've seen the last 2 years. But he's changed his game completely. I really do give him a ton of credit. I know management does as well. He's tried to make himself... He's like, if I can't get points anymore, I got to at least make myself useful to the team in other ways. So he became more of a 200-foot player, and really hard worker in the corners. Like, he wins most of his battles, and that's not exactly what he was known for in the past. So I give him credit. He's worked hard at it. He's being rewarded. And here's the craziest thing about it. like he's a long way off of the 115 points he got his last year in Florida, and I don't think he'll ever get there again. But he's on pace to shatter the most goals he's ever had in a season. Like he's only been a 30 goal scorer twice. Twice he got 30 on the button. And this year, I haven't done the numbers lately, but I do believe he's on pace for 34, 36 goals. Like that's pretty incredible that not only has he turned it around a little bit and been more of a well-rounded player, he's also going to shatter his record probably for goals in a season. I don't think he's getting enough credit for that. It's been a huge, important development for the Flames, who already have enough they already have a tougher time scoring goals. So he's been integral in keeping them in this race.
Eric Francis is with us. He's in Los Angeles. He's on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. We're inside the NHL for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Now, I know that you know this because there's enough people that love the Flames passionately. And if you're part of Rider Nation, you always have all of the right answers. I see a lot of Flames fans online that us winning these games, or the Flames winning games, keeps them in the mucky middle. And that this year was kind of to be like, let's kind of tank this and let's the kids play and let's kind of get out of there. Because look at even a guy like a Celebrini, like San Jose, they go, but they get him. And look how much better they are with just one player injected into the lineup, not only because of how good he is and the personality he brings. And I know a lot of Flames fans would be like, just go get that number one or number two, and then we'll bounce it back. But they're winning, and the mucky middle where they're probably going to be. And if they kind of keep going along this way, that by this point, they were supposed to ditch the old guys. It's all about the kids. You let the Dustin Wolf thing run its course, and you're drafting top 5. It's not turning out that way. Is this messing with your plans, or should we be okay? Should Flames fans just be okay with it? Just be happy your team's winning every once in a while.
Well, I don't think they have any choice but to be okay with it, and they should be okay with it because ownership has decreed that never, ever will this team be interested in tanking. And that comes from the ownership right on down. And so the stepping orders are, yes, build towards the future, but also, compete for a playoff spot every year, which of course can put you right in the mucky middle, which has been the problem this organization's had for 30 years that I've covered them. I call it a hybrid rebuild. It's they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Look, had a long sit down with Craig Conroy yesterday, and there's, they want to stay in this playoff race, and every game is crucial at this point. I know we're at the halfway mark, but they need to, continue to win games right now. They will not make a trade of any sort that won't have the long term in mind. There will be no short term trades. Like right now, if Zari's out for the season, they desperately need a center. They've been looking for a center for a year. They're not going to go out and acquire a guy who's on an expiring contract or who's 32 years of age. They're looking for a 24-year-old guy who can stay here for the next 3 years and be part of the solution moving forward. So everything's with an eye on the future, but that future includes right now because they want to make the playoffs. And I disagree with Team Tank. Half of Calgary is saying we should tank, get the better draft picks. But I know Murray Edwards and these owners point to Edmonton, Buffalo, Detroit, all these cities where they've been wandering in the woods for 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years, some of them, and not made the playoffs or not had a contender since. So I think building a culture of winning is the most important thing. And that's what the Flames are doing right now. It's coming at the expense of good draft picks, but they're building a culture and a template to move forward with that I don't have a problem with.
So before Christmas, I think one of the last shows before Christmas, I floated this idea because NHL viewership or whatever, how do you keep fans entertained in the January, February, March, kind of the dog days of hockey on a Monday or a Tuesday night? And as a fan, what I would love to see, and I put this out there because as a true hockey fan, these games would mean more if they decided to, Gary Bettman, that is, if you're listening, a 1 through 16, just a 1 through 16 top to bottom playoffs. So that would be Vegas, Tampa, 1 and 16 if we went with the standings last night. And Washington, Calgary, Winnipeg, Boston, Minnesota, Vancouver, Toronto, Dallas, Jersey, Florida, LA, Colorado, or Carolina, Edmonton, Colorado. Because all of these games, which can kind of lull you to boredom in Jan and Eric, you've sat through more of these games than the average person. On a cold Tuesday night when the Minnesota Wild would roll into town, no one has a chance of
Yeah.
making the playoffs. These games mean nothing. You want top 8 because do you want to be flying? If you're Calgary, do you want to be flying to Tampa for the playoff? No. So, and it's just an idea because the way to break down, if the playoffs started today in the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic, Toronto, Florida, Boston, Metro, Jersey, Washington, Carolina, and your wild cards would be Tampa and Montreal. And then Pittsburgh and Ottawa. And the Columbus Blue Jackets, where did they come from? Knocking on the door. When did Columbus become kind of sneaky good and start winning games?
Well, and they have one of the top lines in the league right now with Sean Monahan between Kirill Marchenko and Voronkov. And you're going to check your notes later and go, I never heard of those two guys he was talking about that are playing with Monahan, but it's been a formidable line. Okay, 1 through 16, I've heard that before. I don't mind it. Look, they want really the idea was always to build rivalries within your division. And I get that. And I think that's worked for the NHL. So I'm not going to take umbrage with that. I do like the 116 too as a novelty. That's fine too. But you're going to get some odd matchups and some terrible travel situations that are not going to be good for viewership or for the teams or the players. The one thing I would like to see is a play-in. Bettman has really put his foot in, drawn a line in the sand and said that's not happening under my watch. But I still think that's the way to go because you'd add, in about a month from now, maybe a month and a half, a number of teams are going to be almost all but mathematically eliminated. They're going to give up. And the fan bases will give up too. It'll cost millions and millions of dollars in every city where that happens.
Yes.
If you add 4 more spots, just say, even for one single playoff game or best 2 out of 3, then that just keeps up not just 4 more teams in, that keeps probably 8 more teams in the running right up until the very end. And you make millions and millions more. And if that's the word, if that's the name of the game, to make as much money as possible for the NHL, they should do that. So I don't know why they're so stuck on not going to 18 playoff teams or 20 by way of a play-in. But I think the ratings would be huge. The novelty of it would be incredible. It's a no-brainer to me, and it's quite ridiculous to me that they don't consider it, but that's the NHL. Also, I have another beef with the NHL. I just want to throw it out there because I'm going to the Four Nations, face-off with my son. And, I think it's going to be a great tournament. Like, I love the old Canada Cups and all that. I think it's going to be amazing. You can't buy merchandise right now for the Four Nations face-off. Like, in what world do you go into Christmas and you have a major event that's designed for one reason, to make money for the PA and the league, and you don't have merchandise out, and you miss the Christmas season, and we're a month out from the tournament, and you don't have merch out? What horrific sort of management allows that to happen? Like, somebody help me with this. I was planning to buy a jersey they unveiled the jersey 6 months ago. You can't buy them. Nice work.
Yeah, because normally in a coordinated world, the minute that press conference happens live on X or wherever it's happening, the online shop is open and you're allowed to buy.
Yeah.
You're not allowed, but you're encouraged to buy, and you would do everything to do that. Yeah, it's funny. When I was putting together the original 1 through 16, I think somewhere like the 7 to 10, it was the Oilers and the Leafs in that first round. You're telling me that the numbers that would draw TV-wise to do that. But I agree, if there was a play-in, and I also agree, not all of these cup rounds need to be 7 games. Make them 5s. If you started with the play-in 3s and then go to a 5s, and then the last couple of rounds can be 7s, but they don't all have to be the traditional 7s. And listen, you went to 3-on-3 video game hockey to cheapen your game so you could wrap it up, because all of that, everybody loves it. So you were willing to change and compromise what you were doing. Why won't you at least look at, so these games coming up, like you had said, so the teams and the fan bases don't pack it in over these next couple of months, that there's actual meaning to the game. I think a lot of us watch those NFL games on the weekend because there was playoff implications up until the last game of who was getting in and who wasn't. That's what makes sports exciting for fans.
100%. You can be in the mushy middle like the Flames every year, but as long as you still have a chance at the end, you're still selling tickets and merchandise and popcorn. But if you cut that off early, then you lose millions.
Uh, the Winter Classic, and I know you guys already covered this. That was such a bad hockey game. They announced today that February 1, 2026, I'm not sure if you already have your travel assignment yet, Eric. The Winter Classic is going to be in Miami. Do you have a room at Matthew Kachuk's house you'll be staying in when you go to cover the game?
I think all his friends and family would have beaten me to that room. Look, those things are novelty acts. I have been curious for a long time. I want them to do a warm weather outdoor game. Just, they have the technology now. I mean, yeah, it could be dicey, but I love that they're doing this. But don't expect anybody outside of Miami to care. That's kind of my thing with all these outdoor games. The novelty's worn off, obviously, for everybody en masse, but there's still curiosity. And in every city that these things go to, it's a celebration of the game. I went and covered. I remember covering the All-Star game in Florida like 20 years ago. And then I had to leave early because the space shuttle blew up and they sent me to Cape Canaveral to cover the, no pun intended, the fallout of the whole thing. It was awful. But, people in that city at the time love the celebration, love the fact that the eyes of the league are, in their mind on their city. They're not really, but locally, it's something to be excited about and buy your tickets and bring your family to.
The Panthers are playing great hockey. Connor Hellebuck is now 24-6-2 on the season. He picks up his 300th win last night. I think since we're in January, can we say that the Winnipeg Jets are for real? Can we, I'm not a Jets fan, but can you buy Jets stock and feel okay? Like the rug isn't going to get pulled out from under them, that they're far enough into the season that this is a good thing?
As long as they still have Hellebuck, I mean, I think they are world class and a legit contender. I think it's an awful lot of it. I think is on his shoulders. I was trying to think today. When was the last time a guy was this much a clear-cut winner of the Vezina Trophy? And I know there's hockey to be played and all that, but right now, if they were to have the vote, if it wasn't unanimous, whoever didn't vote for him unanimous, should lose their credentials. So, he's that much better than anybody else. And that makes a big difference for your team. Every time you go into the game and you know that you got the best goalie in the world by a mile, that's a huge advantage for everyone. He's playing great hockey. He's been the best goalie, for a year and a half now. And he's doing it with a bullet now. It's pretty impressive to watch. I'm for him. I'm sad he's American, though.
But doesn't that scare you, though, that if he does get injured, the drop-off is huge? Where you look at a team like Vegas, who Ilya Samsonov, when he played with the Leafs, I'm like, oof. And then I'm like, he's in Vegas. I'm like, oh, but for his 1.3 or whatever, $1.5 million contract, and then you see his record and that Vegas plays a second goalie or whatever, that's almost smarter that you've got two guys going because you may need that second guy somewhere along the way, because a lot of teams are winning with 1A and 1B these days.
I think that's the magic elixir. If I'm a coach and I have my dream scenario, I'm going to the playoffs with two goalies that both played 41 games and we're both really, really good, battling with each other, competition and all that, so that if anything does go wrong in the playoffs or an injury comes up, which happens all the time, you're totally safe in the knowledge that the other guy is just as good as your starter. It's a luxury that you don't see very often, so that's why it doesn't happen. But look at Samsonov. Yeah, does it shock you that he's flourished in Vegas? They won a cup with 5 different goalies that year, and nobody had heard of any of them except for one. And I look at what's happening right now in Colorado. Mackenzie Blackwood. I don't think anybody thought he was like a top tier goalie, and I'm not sure anyone still thinks that. But you put him behind a team like the Colorado Avalanche, and suddenly he's winning every game he starts right now. So, and I don't think that surprises a lot of people either. You just need someone competent enough to be behind a great team like that. So, it is perfect. In a perfect world, you have 2 goalies, not just one.
And I watching some of that Vegas San Jose game. They're big, they're strong, they skate. And
Oh
here's the
yeah,
other thing. Mark Stone's an animal. He doesn't give up on pucks. You better not, because look what happens. Oh, and next thing you know, it's top shelf. And that's a goal. I'm glad that he's playing. Like, and I get that like people want to joke about the LTIR or whatever. Mark Stone, when he's healthy and playing, is one of the reasons why you're like, no, that's the way that hockey should be played. I just like the way
yeah.
that he plays. He's a Western Hockey League guy, and you got to like that. All right, let's switch gears here. The TGL. I was flipping channels last night, and I'm like, okay, this is. Oh my God, that is like the best golf simulator I've ever seen. I'm like, wait a minute, this is that Tiger Woods thing. Colson, do we have some we have some footage of that? I don't know. Did you get a chance to see any of this? What did you think?
The Flames played last night, but I will admit, I'd read that day all about it, and just because I didn't know anything about, I'd heard about it, but I wanted to hear all the ins and outs and the size of the screen and the sand is the only other place in the world where they have sand like that is at Augusta National. They've imported this sand. It's at the SoFi Stadium around here, and it's built just for this golf
Yeah.
simulator and this $1 billion league. Like, are there people in attendance as
Oh yeah.
well?
Okay.
Oh,
Yes. Okay.
oh yeah. Okay. So
Okay.
paint the picture.
So let's paint the picture. So an enclosed stadium with like street level seating, like low level seating, and then there was a second tier, and it was like a giant rectangle. Fancy lights and cameras, a bunch of drunk dudes in quarter zips. Oh, sorry, somebody's wearing a quarter zip on the screen. They're like just with their drinks at the screen, and they're like, yeah, like pretend it's like the Phoenix Open, but it's a couple of months before, and it's just like guys hamming it up for the camera. And so then you have the golfers, and basically, if you didn't see this, basically playing probably one of the most expensive, well-designed, like video screen golf simulators that you can find. But they're teeing off from real grass boxes. There was 3 grass boxes that they were teeing off from, and that they were hitting the irons and like in the wedges and stuff from. They were putting on a green, but they were in the sand, and they were basically playing video golf. But these were professional golfers. It was Team Tiger against Team Rory, and they were there. Everybody's mic'd up, so you're catching the commentary. This is that's so funny. Now every dude at a golf simulator with 3 whiskeys in him is going to think that he's on this TV show now too. That, like there is going to be the exact same. It's like, Mom, I've made it. There's going to be the simulator, this TGL simulator golf tour probably too. It was very neat because you see these guys hit into the largest screen for simulator golf I've ever seen. Colson, do we have a clip of that we can throw up? Oh, he's working on it. We'll pull it up here. But I thought it was pretty neat. And so they did 1-on-1 play. They did 3-on-3 play where it was like shot, shot, shot. Like somebody teed off, next shot, next. So as opposed to, and then they did team play. And did they golf all 18? Because when I caught it, they were finishing the 9th and going on to the 10th. It was 15? Okay.
Yeah, it's 15, and they have overtime, and it's alternate shot at one point, and it's the most,
and it was
they've modified golf in every possible way they could. And I'm not going to crap on it. I love when people try new things. We should always encourage these sports to try new things. I'm sure there are people who hate it, but I literally just want to see 5 minutes of it. Like, I'm hoping Colson pulls it up now so I can see it, because I just want to see what it looks like. And I do feel like within 5 or 10 minutes, I'll have an idea of whether or not I'll ever watch it again or not. But it's also based right here around gambling.
Yeah. So there it is right there.
Yeah.
Look at that.
What course are they playing?
Oh, we've talked before. I don't care for golf, but like, okay, so there's the crowd. Yeah. Like there's, yeah. So it's impressive. ESPN is doing it. Scott Van Pelt was coming in. He did like the halftime. Like it was very well done. Obviously, it's Tiger Woods. It's like all of these guys. I'm sure it's going to be now because the beauty of it is with the NFL winding down, and the playoffs coming up, there's going to be that huge void of what are you watching? And
That's what they did
until
it for.
the
Yeah.
and exactly, and the PGA Tour is just slowly getting back into it. I know that they usually start the season in Maui, correct? Because I remember we were on vacation in Maui one time, and the PGA was getting started there. So this will be great filler. They're going to move this around the country to these different locations. That's what I could pick up from there, because I know that you're Mr. Golf. And so I was just wondering, maybe if was there not a press invite or a junket for you to go check this out ahead of time?
No, it's no. But I was under the impression it was just in this SoFi, the stadium that's built just for this event, and this was supposed to launch a year earlier, but the roof caved in, and it delayed the entire thing for a full year just because the roof of the one venue collapsed. So I didn't know that there were other venues. Like, God help me, are there going to be home teams and away teams? Like, I thought it was all happening in one place, but hey, check it out, and we'll reconvene and talk about it in a week or two. And I wonder if it's going to grow on people or not. I'm all for innovation, and this is innovation to the hilt, right? You're using nothing but technology to try to replicate a sport that most people fall in love with because you're in the great outdoors. Now you're taking the entire appeal of the great outdoors out of the picture, and you're doing this so that people can gamble on your sport in large part. That's a big motivator for this. And I hope it works for them.
Oh, I think it will. From just the shots of the crowd and the dudes, they already captured the right demographic as far as the drunk guy in the quarter zip, double fisting it, who's probably not only running up a huge bar tab, but on his DraftKings app down there was probably dipping into his credit limit on his Visa or Mastercard. All right, Eric, stay safe. We'll
Thanks,
chat soon. It's Eric Francis inside the NHL for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Eric is in Los Angeles. The Flames game tonight against the LA Kings at Crypto.com has been postponed. No word yet on when it will be rescheduled, as Eric stated earlier in the interview. That Crypto.com is the second busiest arena in North America. So it's not just like you can just fit in something the next day. If you missed any part of that interview, you can always catch the podcast of Eric or any part of our show. We chatted with Chris Getzlaff in hour one as well. You can always find that at sportscage.com. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more. It's the all-new Sports Cage on 620 CKRM.